Welcome back, Doug Badger Radio, 121. Both the sidekick and the engineer are laughing at my selection of the intro music for this segment. On the line here is Scott Morris, and Scott is a part of the Church Health Center in Memphis, Tennessee, and they're doing some really unique things. And his book is called Healthcare You Can Live With. You can order it on Amazon. You can find it at your local bookstore. You really ought to pick it up if you're interested at all in a holistic view of health, of body and spirit going together. Now, Scott, you've talked a little bit here about the health center, and you see a lot of people there at your health center, and it's been running since. If I got these dates right, since 1997, or not, I'm sorry, 1987?
1987, right.
Since
1987. So almost 24 years, right.
24 years. And you see a lot of people every day here at the Church Healthcare Center.
Yeah, we see about 200 people a day. There's about 70,000 people we've taken care of over the years.
My goodness.
Now, our focus is 100% on people who work in low-wage jobs who don't have health insurance. We take care of the people who work to make our lives comfortable. They shine your shoes, they cook your food, they one day dig your grave. They don't complain. Yet when they get sick, their options are very few.
And you use a battery of volunteers, specialists, and others, and I know that the health center is proud of the fact that there's almost nothing that you can't handle through someone who's connected to the health center.
Yeah, from the cradle to the grave, we can take care of the problem. And we do this entirely without relying on government support. There are a lot of clinics out there today that actually are faith-based, but from our perspective, the government cannot do the work of the church, and neither should we ask it to. The Church Health Center is fundamentally about the church. We are engaged in helping the church take seriously the call to discipleship, which is to do three things. I mean, every time Jesus calls the disciples together, every time, they're expected to do three things, which are to preach, to teach, and to heal. Now, in our churches, we got the preach and the teach down, but what does it look like in today's world to have a healing ministry? That's what the Church Health Center is all about. We believe that the church should absolutely go where the need is greatest among the poor, and that has, for all the years we've been open, meaning to care for people who are working and don't have health insurance. And despite whatever happens in the future around healthcare reform, Jesus said the poor will always be with you. So far, he's been right, and we will keep doing what we're doing.
Now, when a lot of people hear about churches being in the healthcare business, they basically imagine that someone goes there, someone prays with them, and then gives them a healing cloth. That's not what you're doing at the center. I mean, it's not just
right. We're a real doctor's office. I mean, our goal is to provide the same quality of care you would expect your mother to receive. Now, people be surprised to hear that 50% of people who come to primary care doctors like me have no medical problem. And people come to the doctor today for reasons they used to come to the pastor. It's all complicated why that is. But I wish I had a nickel for every patient I've seen over the years who came to me with a complaint of something like my back hurts. And literally, no exaggeration, within 30 seconds, the person's in tears. Not because they have a broken back. They got a broken heart. And I can't fix a broken heart in a 15-minute office visit.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of doctors who don't want to go into being a general practitioner or family practitioner for that very reason, right? The way the industry works or what they want to do, they don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the emotional and mental health needs and spiritual needs of a patient. But that's why a lot of people go to their doctors. Isn't that true that in the medical profession, it's one of the things that drives people away from?
Yeah, people don't like to do it for two reasons. One, you're not trained to do it.
Right.
Two, you're not paid to do it.
Oh.
It does take more time, and insurance companies don't pay you extra for taking care of what are fundamentally spiritual problems. But spiritual problems require spiritual solutions. Antidepressants do not make people better. When the fundamental issue is one of the spirit. This is one of my other issues here is about drugs in general. Drugs are poisons. That is how they work. I'm a physician. I prescribe drugs every day. But if you look at how drugs work, they poison your body to prevent it from doing something it is naturally trying to do. You got to be pretty doggone smart to override the body the way God created it. Thank God that pills don't work like they say they do on TV. If they really did all that stuff,
That's interesting.
Doctors would be killing people right and left.
How do you mean? What do you mean if they worked like they do on TV, they'd be killing people right and left?
Yeah, all the stuff that if the drugs would actually attack problems the way it makes you think it does on TV, then all those side effects they give you as a disclaimer,
they would all be happening. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, when you see somebody taking 10 or 12 different pills, that those pills interact in a significant way. So the solution is not pills. The solution is not technology. That we have to develop a new way of looking at life that embraces life in a way that is about seeing life in terms of its fullness. So that does mean exercise. It means nutrition. This is not rocket science. It does mean engaging the spiritual dimension when you go to the doctor. But part of the problem is that people come with what I describe as a broken heart, and yet today you can MRI somebody's heart all you want, and you will never know what love looks like. And yet that is fundamentally the thing that makes us healthy, is to have a life built on love.
Now, when you talk to your colleagues, to other physicians and other doctors, and you start talking like that, what kind of looks do they give you? Do they give you the look of agreement, or do they kind of be like, "Oh, there goes Scott again," or how does that go inside inside your industry?
It really depends on where people are in their practice of medicine. If they're at that part where they're still totally enamored with technology and the science of it, that they would say, "What does this have to do?" But I mean, I'm 56 years old, but the more people are my age, and when people have practiced for 20 or 30 years, they look at me and they say, "I get it, I know it." Unfortunately, I don't know how to practice medicine that way, which is really what this book is all about. It is for lay people, but it is also to help a doctor learn a different way of practicing. If there are physicians listening who would say, I wish my practice of medicine was more along this line, that's what this is. But our training of young doctors is all built around detecting disease. It is not about helping them learn how to help people live healthy lives.
And what you're advocating in church, in healthcare you can live with, and what you're doing at the Church Healthcare Center is you're advocating a bigger view of what healthcare is about. It's not just illness management, but it's about an entire way of a person orienting their lives around having the kind of physical and spiritual life that they want to have.
Yes, and the beauty of it is you can start today. Anybody listening that doesn't have to be in despair over the fact, well, my doctor doesn't practice medicine like this. This is a self-help book in some ways, in that you can pick it up today and start figuring out, how do I create my own model for healthy living? How do I take the 7 elements of life that may be out of balance? And there are actually workbooks that goes along with my book that would help you say, here's what I can start today. That there are very practical approaches to doing this, and the truth is we all need it. Every one of us. You need it, I need it as well.
Scott, thanks so much for being on. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm going to be down in Memphis in a couple of weeks, so I'm going to stop by if that's all right. And
that'd be great. Let me add one last thing.
Yeah.
Because along with this book, the Church Health Center has an online magazine on the link between faith and health, which is called Church Health Reader. So if anybody is interested in creating a health ministry in their own church, go to Church Health Reader. The URL is chreader.org, and it will give you some great ideas. There's new material on the site every week.
Fantastic. Scott, thanks for the show. Thanks for the book, or thanks for being on the show. Thanks for the book, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks in Memphis.
Look forward to it.
Great. Hey, we'll be back here on Doug Pagitt Radio with a new segment on AM 950 and DougPagittRadio.com.
HIV.